Throughout Incubator, which is held on a quarterly basis, we invite expert representatives to discuss and share their insights on the industry's current issues and trends. This is a core component of TCOM Media Cluster's efforts to establish a community hub for the media and content creation industries in the region.
The focus today is specifically the music industry in the Middle East, challenges and the opportunities. We're going to be discussing the progress and impact of digital on the music industry, intellectual property and the role that a music rights association could have, the need for a collections agency in the UAE and the positive impact that one would have. We're going to hear from each of the panellists, and then there'll be time at the end for questions from you. So just to introduce the people that we have here today, and thank you for joining us. Firstly, we have Maytha Al-Saidi speaking from the legal perspective. Maytha has more than 10 years of experience in media law. She's the founder of iRights, a music rights management company, which she launched in February this year, and she's going to be discussing music intellectual property in the Middle East and the role of the Music Rights Association. We have Jihad Nermeh speaking from the point of view as a rights holder, a producer and a publisher. Jihad is the Executive Manager, Publishing Department International Operations for Rotana. Rotana is the leading Arabic music producer and publisher, and he'll be discussing from the Rotana perspective the need for a structure for music rights collection in the UAE and the positive impact that should be felt by the industry when such a structure is in place. We have also Suhail Al-Abdul speaking as a broadcaster and music producer, and he'll be discussing his experience in the UAE market and in the field of music intellectual property. We also have Craig Pereira speaking on behalf of the major record label Sony. He's Director, Marketing and Digital Business Development for Sony in the Middle East, and he's going to be discussing the movement towards a digital music industry, and based on the experience that Sony has had both in this region and other markets, he's going to share some of the opportunities that he sees for digital and what that represents for businesses in this region. So I'm going to start with Craig. How has the move towards digital impacted the music industry in the region?
I think the move to digital music has affected the world to begin with. I think the music industry was one of the first industries that actually became a part of the digital revolution when, to be quite honest, none of us were ready for it. So it was about a decade ago that I think Apple began iTunes and developed a successful model for online consumption of music, and I believe it's the kind of product that actually is really well consumed digitally. So coming down to the region specifically, I believe that the region at some level is about 5 to 6 years behind the rest of the world when it comes to digital patterns of consumption, but I think it is definitely catching up, and we see that all around us in terms of the consumption patterns on mobile and online here in the region.
And so with this, with the paradigm shift that we're experiencing and the methods that people are using to acquire music, can you give us some indications of the trends that you see in terms of music sales, music consumption? Has there been a rise and a fall in the different methods of purchasing?
Talking about, I think, the trends, I think there's been two kind of trends really. I think when it comes to the West, essentially, with the US and Europe, the trend has really been online consumption of music through channels and distribution partners such as Apple and iTunes. I think they've essentially occupied the majority of the market, and even when you talk about digital in the Middle East, often people really understand it as the online consumption of music through an online retailer, which if you're from the US, generally you think about iTunes. If you're from the UK, you think about partners like 7 Digital and HMV that are quite successful in that market. But I think when it comes to Asia specifically, the distribution of digital has essentially been through mobile. So I believe that telcos have actually been the new retailers of music, and the Middle East industry specifically, I think, is following quite closely in those footsteps. So it's essentially, for us, the market right now for digital is not essentially through an online retailer on the internet, but it's through mobile phone operators that are essentially the new retailers of music.
And how far is Sony digging into that side of the business?
Well, Sony Music has actually been around in the Middle East with a company in Media City for about 3.5 years now. And, you know, we came in based on what we believed was the potential that the digital industry really had. So we do have a physical business in the region, which is quite important to us still. In terms of the physical consumption of music, the region has really, you know, sort of sustained itself. I think we're quite fortunate to have, you know, the big box music stores like Virgin that still exist. So I would say that we have a buoyant environment for physical consumption. However, this is actually diminishing, or the degrowth in this area is about 15 to 20% each year. So when you actually look at it from a 5-year perspective, you will see that the physical market has halved. The digital market, on the other hand, we were the first major in the region to actually conduct ourselves with some sort of digital activity. And this was in the year 2007 through a licensee that we had operational in the region. And you know, based on some of the feelers that we had from the activity that we had at that point of time in 2007, which was quite far behind to where we are today, we realized that there was a lot of potential. So to give you an indication, about 20% of Sony Music's business in the region actually comes from the digital players in the market, which are essentially the telcos right now. In most of the developed markets, the physical versus digital is now at a 50-50 ratio. In this market, it's about 15 to 85, and if you really analyze those figures, you'll see that we really have a long way to go when it comes to growth, and we're quite optimistic.
We talked before offline about some of the initiatives that you've seen happen here, local initiatives. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? You mentioned previously a Tislap, for instance. You've just touched on it a little now.
Yeah, they're coming down to, you know, what I touched upon with the telcos really being the new retail stores of music. You will notice that, you know, one of the biggest telcos in the region, which is Etisalat, actually decided to open a music store about 3 years ago. And, you know, they not only have a distribution channel for online music, the music store actually allows dual delivery of music content. So basically, if you purchase a song on the Etisalat music store, you essentially get it on your computer and you get it on your phone, and the content is what we call digital rights management free, which means that you can essentially transfer it to any other device. Their store, by the way, for those who don't know, is called Wayak, and it also sells a popular format for digital music called the caller tune, or the ringback tone. So I think, Rachel, when you called me yesterday, you must have heard a strange song playing to you. It's a song that I don't choose to play for myself, but very egoistically, actually, I choose to play it for the callers that call me. So that song is actually a new artist that we've signed for the region. It's a guy called Tash. The song is called Baby Lay, and that's what you hear on my phone. So
luckily, I didn't. Well, let's come back to some of these initiatives in a moment. Let's just talk briefly then. The impact of digital is changing the way that the industry operates. I'm interested, from your point of view, what that has meant. Perhaps there are some headline challenges actually that you've recognised.
Well, from a regional point of view, there are both challenges and there are opportunities. I think really there is a price opportunity to the consumer. For everyone in this room, anybody that still buys CDs actually can figure that the CD price in this region is still 60 dirhams, which is almost $20. That's quite high when you compare that to even some of the developed markets in Europe and even the US. So the pricing value of international music in the region has been quite high. And that is because, the industry generally imports its product, so we have quality product, retail through quality retailer, and you buy a sophisticated package in the form of the CD, or you used to buy that in the form of a CD. When it comes to digital music consumption, in the first place, we don't have the issues of packaging, of imports, etc. So the price has come down to what I believe is really, quite realistic in terms of value. It's actually 3 dirhams per song, so if you take that into an album, it averages at about 30 dirhams. And if you take the pricing of the ringback tone or the collar tune, actually that works out to about 5 dirhams per tune. So I believe there is a pricing advantage that is by default happen for the consumer. I think some of the disadvantages have really been to actually get the distribution going on the ground. I mean, we do international music, which depending on which way you see it, from a regional point of view, is quite provocative. So, we do artists like Shakira, Britney, Beyonce, and now all of this kind of music is retailed through companies like Etisalat and Do. So it was essentially about convincing, the mobile distribution partners about the value of music and the kind of revenue potential that exists for them. So that has been one of the challenges which we believe we've overcome. I'm proud to say that Sony Music has the largest distribution across mobile companies in this region. So that's been a challenge that was there when we just entered. I believe the challenge now is really, I think, something that you raised in your conversation with me about the piracy. So, music is also, just like we got hit by the digital revolution before we were ready for it. I mean, right from the beginning, there were companies like Napster, etc., that developed models which were essentially peer-to-peer that were leaning on piracy. So this is something that we are still dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and it's really about the industry getting together in forums like this. Different people are sitting on each of these chairs. They own different rights and have different perspectives on the rights. So I think forums like these, where industry leaders can actually come together and talk about music and the rights around it, really is helpful to move around that challenge.
It was reported in the press just recently that piracy is of epidemic proportions in this market. So it certainly does seem to be a key issue to address. And in terms of what happens in the rest of the world to help control piracy, do we see it being dealt with in a different way in this region?
Yeah, it's actually quite behind, to be honest with you, in this region. When it comes to digital piracy, I mean, in the UK, for example, the method of, fighting piracy off these days is quite different to what it was in the past, when music consumption was essentially on CD. So, in those days it was about raiding illegal factories and essentially, throwing the pirates in jail, the ones that actually pirated physical CDs. In the digital economy, though, it's quite different. What's really happening these days is governments are really getting together with the ISPs, or the internet service providers, and essentially creating rules and regulations that are actually implemented by the ISPs in the developed markets, where they are telling their users not to either upload illegal content or download illegal content. So we've all heard about the kind of cases that have existed in the US and the UK, where regular people have essentially been thrown in jail, or have received pretty severe legal lawsuits that actually are about illegal downloads or illegal uploads. So.
Keep a balance between, we're looking at both opportunities and the challenges. So let's just talk briefly about some of the opportunities that you see for this market in terms of digital services that have taken off in the region versus some that have not. But certainly there are services that have taken off very well in this region and others that are looking to move in.
I think that there have been attempts at online services, which were fairly good attempts. I think a lot of the business plans around these kind of companies were set up in, pre-recession days, so pre-2009. I think when the services actually launched, which was post the recession, when the bubble burst, I think a lot of the marketing dollars were curtailed, so therefore there was never really a significant proposition to the consumer which allowed them to actually purchase, legal music online. There were services that were launched, and to me, even being from the industry, it seemed like, most of the information and marketing strategies around the services remained in the respective companies' heads. It was not well translated in a marketing plan that actually appealed to the ordinary consumer that was interested in buying music. So yes, there have been many online companies that came in, and there have been many online companies that have failed. I think where we've actually seen growth is on the mobile side, like I mentioned. So currently the industry is quite centered around the mobile side. We've seen growth in products like the ringback tone and the caller tune, as we call it. These kind of digital products are actually products that cannot be pirated. The music file actually sits within the realm of the telco. So for example, if you call me and if you like my tune, then the only way to actually buy this is through your mobile phone and through the telco. So in that sense, they're products that are what I call as non-piratable. I think coming back to the online music services, I think one of the reasons why those services haven't taken off is because in this region, people have been quite apprehensive about using their credit card online, and the only sort of industry where people have used their credit cards online is the airline industry to purchase air tickets. Everything else, when it comes to e-commerce, has been slow to take off, and therefore I believe the music industry also faces, a situation with that problem. The reason why there has been, positives that have, appeal to consumers in terms of buying music on through their mobile is because they actually pay for that content through their telephone bill. So it's not about really putting in your credit card, giving out information that becomes suspect. It's actually about making that purchase and then getting billed at the end of the month, on your mobile. And some of the new services that have been launched, just going back to your previous question. Do has actually launched a pretty commendable service that is actually, you can download the app for their music store onto your cell phone and actually, purchase music, a total of 5 songs for a dirham a day. And those files are DRM free and transferable to all kinds of devices. So, it's a transaction that happens on your mobile phone for just a dirham a day, and you basically pay a dirham a day on a subscription package and you get charged 30 dirhams a month. So,
Tell us a bit from Same's perspective how brands in this market can take advantage of digital music content. We've talked offline about B2C, B2B initiatives. Perhaps you could give us some examples that are relevant for people here today to hear about the experience that Sony's had, the success.
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. Actually, everything that I've talked about so far are actually B2C initiatives for us. So it's about essentially getting your product either into the store in the form of a CD or to a telco in the form of a digital file, and then it's about you as a consumer making the effort to go into either the store or engaging in a transaction over your mobile phone that actually involves the paying for music. We have launched a new initiative when it comes to what we call B2B, which is essentially we have white label services that we're able to take to brands that will allow their consumers to redeem music through a voucher code. And this is what we actually believe is really quite interesting because we've had successful models for these redemption patterns in the developed world, specifically in Australia. And we believe that there is actually a huge opportunity to bring models such as that here. what it really gives the brand is it gives it gives their consumers a voucher that allows music consumption for a specific amount of time, for a specific value. They get to be associated with the category, therefore increasing their cool factor to their consumer, if that is relevant to them, and they get the access to IP in the form of the artist's images, the new artist's music, and it's basically engaging their consumer with, going on to a what we offer, which is a white label website that then gets branded by, a KFC or McDonald's. They essentially receive a voucher when they're buying a burger, for example. They input that voucher code in, and then they get, a couple of songs for free every time they. So it's basically a great 360 cycle for a brand, where you're actually having the consumer engage with your brand through what they believe, through a category that they might believe is hip and cool. So
let's move over to a legal perspective then, Nathan. We want to talk about music rights. What is the present situation in terms of music rights here in the Middle East?
The copyright laws here in the Middle East are very well established in terms of IP and copyright protection. The issue is with the implementation of these laws on the musical works and on music copyright. The reason behind that is that no court precedent has been established so far, no disputes reach the authorities who are responsible to look after them in the Middle East in terms of copyright. All the concentration is on the trademarks and patent protection.
And so why would you say that the Middle East is not at the same level as the rest of the world? What are the hindrances?
It's not the same. It's not at the same level in terms of no issues has been addressed to the governments. No disputes has been raised, so that the courts, the judges, and the authorities will deeply research the laws and look about the proper implementation them on music copyright. They didn't look at the various types of licenses that normally exist as the standard types of music licensing that is in the West, in the UK and in the US, and as approved by the international treaties through the World Intellectual Property Organization.
On that issue of licenses, would you like to just give us an outline of the different types of licenses that could apply?
Yes, different types of licenses arise, and there are copyright and there are royalties, because the music is a complex society. We have a performance license whereby royalties are collected from the broadcasters. We have licenses for live performance. We have licenses for public performance, where the music is played in public places like restaurants, pubs, bars. And we have licenses for digital transmission. All of these fall under the performance license. We have the mechanical licensing, which is whereby they collect royalties from the sale of physical media on CDs and cassettes. We have the synchronization license, whereby if the music is used for a TV commercial or a TV show, or get synchronized only for this purpose, then a music license is required. And there are exceptional types of licenses. Sometimes they license special albums to big stores. So we have different types of licenses. In the Middle East, so far, we have the license for live performances, and the mechanical license, which is for the sale of CDs. We don't have the performance license yet. When the rights holder go and ask the end user as a broadcaster to pay, we don't see that recognition to the value of music and the amount claimed by the music right holder. When they go to public places to license them for the music, the end users here, they say, no, this is not protected by copyright law, although it is protected. So far we have here only the live performance and the mechanical license. Digital transmission, maybe it's with the telecommunication company, it's becoming maybe more accessible now, as Sonny mentioned.
Right, actually when we do these kind of licensing and distribution deals with the major telecommunications companies, they actually accrue mechanicals and publishing royalties in a sort of escrow, where there is an accrual, but the belief is that because these societies are not as yet formed, there's really no payment that goes out. But there is a sense of acknowledgement that these rights will be in place. Yeah, and we do, as a record label, that fundamentally has the rights to what we call master recordings. We do, what we have to support, rights holders from every perspective by making sure that these kind of clauses are actually in all our contracts with these telcos when we do our business with them.
Previously, when we've spoken, Maytha, we've talked about a rights association and a music rights agency. Just clarify the difference between the two, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, the music rights agent acts on behalf of the principal and have to abide by the terms and conditions that the principal set for licensing of music in terms of pricing, types of licensing, whatever. The Music Rights Association or collective management societies, they will set the standards, types of licensing, the pricing, and it will be approved by the government. And again, they cannot receive instructions from each and every member because they will have big number of members. So there will be like a board of association, board of directors who will take decision and approve. But there will be certain standards and pricing for the organization when they approach the end user. So for the end user, they will feel that they are fairly treated with an association that represents the rights holders. Whereby when they deal with the agent, although the agent has all the right to come and pursue them, there is no standard of pricing, that they can feel that they are fairly treated. Because this agent might require a certain amount for this type of license, while another agent will come and ask for a higher amount.
Okay. So in terms of the players within this field then, I wanted to touch on, if you wouldn't mind, the National just reported recently the establishment of Pop Arabia, calling itself music publishing and music rights consultancy and acting as a representative of international brands. Could you clarify what is it that Pop Arabia are going to be doing in this realm?
Well, as per the article that I read, it clearly mentions that they are a music consultant and a music publisher and not an approved association. And they are trying to collect royalties from synchronization licenses, which I believe we talked about this type of license, which is from the use of music on TV commercials or TV shows or movies. So they are acting as agent on behalf of publishers who own the rights to this type of license.
And I'd also like to add that they currently have the license to only Universal Publishing, so that's just one of the players in the publishing industry, but not the rest. And I think Jihad will speak about Sony and the other respective companies' rights as a move.
So does it make sense for one?
So again, they are acting as agents. I mean, they are not an association.
But does it make sense for one organisation to act alone?
Yes, of course, they have all the rights as long as they have a proper agency agreement. They act on behalf of the principal, being a music rights holder. They have all the right to do that. But again, the association or the collective management societies, once exist, it will be in a stronger position when they approach the end user.
They are not acting as a collection society. They are acting as sub-publisher for Universal Music. We, Rotana Publishing, we represent the complete Rotana catalog, Arabic catalog, and also we are sub-publisher for Sony ATV and Warner Chappell Music. So we are not acting as collection societies, but we represent the major publisher.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And Maytha, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Music Rights Association and the impact that could have on the UAE's music industry. Could you give us an outline?
Yes, there are three parties in the formula. The Music Rights Association exists for a main reason, to create a link between the music rights holders and the end users in the industry. Again, it will be formed under the supervision of the government in terms of its standards, the pricing, types of licensing, etc. It is not important only for the music rights holders for this association to exist. There are other benefits for the government and for the end user. For the end user, because they will feel that they are not infringing the law, they are paying for the license as per pricing and terms approved by governments. Okay? For the governments as well, it is important for them to have these organizations as a commitment from them as per the international treaties that most of the Middle Eastern countries signed on, like Berne Convention. It is important for them because once they have these associations, then they have a strong and established IP system in terms of music rights protection. And that will encourage foreign investment in these countries when they see that they are established in this field. Again, we don't have them, but we are trying to form the Collection Management Society, the first Collection Management Society in the UAE, with the efforts, of course, of music rights holders.
Did you say that your organisation is?
We are trying to.
We are trying. And so, in terms of the role that iRights, the company that you've established just earlier this year, what is it that iRights is aiming to do to achieve in terms of facilitating the structure of a music rights association?
Okay, first we're trying to create awareness campaigns to the public as to the importance of copyrighting music, awareness campaigns to end users because the society here in the Middle East, they were not educated about music copyright laws. Although all they know about IP laws is the trademarks and patents, and the penalties come after, if they infringe these rights. So we're trying to create awareness campaigns, work with the government as well, also to emphasize the role of government to create this awareness. And we are trying to join and gather the music rights holders to sit on one table and discuss, because without them, without their efforts, and without them establishing the precedents, legal precedents in the market, we cannot form this association. So we are inviting them to a founders committee to sit and address their issues and take it as a first step towards the formation of the association.
Okay, thank you. And let's move on to Jihad, onto Rotana. Just to set the context then, Rotana is the largest Arabic music production company. It started as a record company in the early 90s, and it's grown to become a leading producer and distributor of Arabic music and movies. On the issue of music rights and the challenges that Rotana faces, perhaps you could tell us a bit about that.
Yes, first I want to thank you for this invitation. It's an opportunity to express our concern. I want to highlight some, first of all, as I said now, we represent not only the Arabic repertory that Rotana hold, which makes 80% from the market. We also represent two major publishers. The biggest one is Sony ATV and Warner Chappell, that make like 50% from the international music. I want to highlight some statements today. The first statement is music industry is in danger. Music is in danger. And we need to survive. We need to make something to survive, to make music survive. And collection society is a must today. I want to explain what does it mean, collection society. Collection society is a society who collects music, who collects rights, royalties from the public places, from hotels, from TV, from restaurants, from broadcaster, or the companies who broadcast to public places. So this is what we need to see a creation of collection society to collect these royalties to make music survive.
Rotana undertook a study a couple of years ago to understand the loss in publishing royalties from the UAE market. Would you like to explain, the loss of publishing royalties from the UAE market due to the absence of music rights collection?
Yes, we make a study and we checked how many users of music in UAE, like I mentioned, TVs, radio, hotels, public places, restaurants, and as per our study, there is like 10 million US dollar per year royalty from these public places.
This is lost.
Yes, a loss for the publisher. So all our music is used for free. And this is the Arab mentality. Music is for free, music is for public. So we are underestimate the value of the music, and it becomes music should be for free. So everywhere we are using the music, but without paying the right holder.
And this is specific to this region, is it? To the Middle East region?
Specifically in the Middle East and in the UAE, because UAE is a potential market. So, and wherever you go, you have music, and music is very important for the market here, for the economy, for the culture, for the business itself. So there is a big loss in this, and why we are now highlighting this point to create a collection society, because maybe we were happy with the album sales that we have before, but now with all the piracy, so we are not covering our production cost. So that's why we are looking for the other rights. If the public places are benefiting from our music, so that they should pay for this.
Maytha, were you going to step in there? Tentatively.
No, I would like to mention something to say to the world. Actually, imagine the world without a music for one day. Imagine a restaurant who plays music and a restaurant who doesn't play music. It's a tool of entertainment to public places. Although they pay for every and each single product in these places, like for the photos on the wall, for the chairs, for the tables, for the food, except for music, they tend to ignore. But again, I want also to mention that the non-existence of the association so far does not prevent music rights holder to go and sue end user. They have all the right to do that. So we can take like both steps at the same time. They can sue to establish precedents and for the government to have also experience in this field and work towards the formation of the organization.
Sorry, I'd just like to button on a question for Jihad, I think from the point of view of the audience. Rotana has the license for Sony TV publishing, Jihad. So can you clarify under that umbrella really what right do you have?
So, the music, the song, there are right holders for the song. There is the lyricist and composer, the authors, and who are represented by the publisher, and they are the producer who produced the song. So we have at least two right holders, the publisher who represent the authors and the producer who represent the production of the song. So to have a song, to hear a music, to hear a song, we have to pay the publisher, the authors, and the producer. So, and the collection society could be a society who collect for all these right holders.
So the collection society will collect and then reward you for your share of Sony ATV's respective authors and composers.
Exactly.
And that's what really you are collecting for.
Exactly.
You're also collecting for a right called the mechanical right.
Exactly. Mechanical right is under publishing right. So whenever you get this revenue, you can produce more new albums, and when we have our share, we can pay the authors, and the authors will be happy to create more music. But the situation today is not like that. We have an example, Rotana, where they're producing 100 albums per year, which means one album each 3 days we have a release. And now, last year we have produced 20 albums instead of 100. And in the near future, maybe we will stop production. And so if we want to continue in this business, we need to have more revenue to cover our costs. This is logic and this is normal. So this is why we are, it's an emergency now to create this collection society so author can survive, publisher can survive, and producer can survive. And the users should be happy to do this, because at the end they are using our music to boost their firm. So if they pay, they will get new music and new works, and this will boost. I don't know if you know the Sasan history, how Sasan started. Sasan is the first collection society. There were a composer in a restaurant who were eating, and there were a band who were playing his music. So in the end, they bring him the bill, and he refused to pay the bill. He said, "You are playing my music, and everybody is happy, and you have your restaurant is full because my music is very nice, and everybody is happy. So you have to pay me, not I have to pay you." So he refused to pay, and then they go to court, and the composer win the case, and this is how Sasan started. So the public places and these users should know that the music is boosting their companies and their stores. So they should pay for using the music. And we are now doing an awareness campaign that music is not for free. You should get a license to play music.
I was just going to say, so what is Rotana doing then? What are the next steps that we need to take?
Can I show the TV commercial that you are?
Yes, if it's big enough for people to see.
It should be. It should be launched after Ramadan. We are showing that music is illegally used. All day long, music is illegally used everywhere. And the message, music is not for free, ask for your license. So we need to start to make an awareness, because people maybe doesn't know that they feel that music should be for free. And
okay, so looking to the future then, if we can have a music rights collection system in place, give us your thoughts on the positive impacts that should be felt by the music industry as a result. If we have a music rights collection system in place, what would be the positive outcomes of that?
yeah, as I just said, we will have revenue to cover our costs, and then we will have new creation, new works.
I think it's an important point, because I think what Jihad is trying to say is the lack of these societies really result in the entire cultural industry when it comes to music collapsing in the region. I think Rotana is not only a producer of the music, like Sony Music is, but I think on the Arabic side of the industry, Rotana also holds the publishing rights for that music. So I think the point is that all the businesses that are engaging in the usage of music, so when you break that down, nobody's going to go to a club if you can dance to the music that you listen to. None of the radio stations are going to get advertisers if they don't use the product. So people need to start seeing music as a product and therefore paying a percentage of the revenues that they're making from their respective advertisers or their respective clients to the rights holders, so that we can actually engage in a creative cultural industry in the UAE and in the region.
So we'll see the growth of the industry, the growth of probably economy related to that industry, increased stability of the infrastructure.
And also the music is a culture. It reflects our culture, our tradition. Last year we had an event where we invite all the international publishers, and they were supposed to make a oud session. They were expecting a oud session, and it was cancelled. So it's important that oud session reflect our culture. So music also, it's not boost economy, it's also reflect our culture, our folklore. So it's important to protect our culture also.
Another importance for the collection management society when it exists in the UAE, for example, is that International Music Rights Association, let's say the PRS in the UK or ASCAP, they can do cross-licensing with these associations so that they can collect royalties from the UAE market as well for the rights they hold. If the association does not exist, these associations cannot come and sue end users directly as association. So there should be a local association in each country so that they can do cross-licensing together. So in this case, I mean, again, international rights will be protected as well.
Okay, thank you.
As a broadcaster, Rotana as a broadcaster, not as a producer, have you taken any initiative to pay copyrights for other producers? Before you try to educate that music is not free, have any payments been done to other producers? Have any payments done from Rotana broadcasters, TV stations or radio stations, to other copyright owners?
Actually, in the Middle East now we have where collection society exists, we are paying our royalties. Like in Lebanon for Sasan, we pay for our restaurant, for our TV and the radio station. We pay the collection society. Same in Egypt, same in Morocco and other countries. But in UAE, because collection society does not exist, we pay. But wherever collection society exists,
I meant as a broadcaster.
Yeah, we pay
For Rotana TV and Rotana Radio?
Yes. We pay for Sasan and for Sasero.
Well, let's move on to you, Sihar. I would like you, I'm going to steer you in a moment to talk from a more local UAE level about this idea of the music rights collection. But just first of all, perhaps you could introduce yourself, what is your history in the music industry.
We are music producers, mainly UAE music. We are broadcasters. We have 3 musical TV stations, and we own a lot of the local music as copyrights.
You own the copyright, I see. And so you started as a music producer, you've moved into being a broadcaster. Okay. How have you seen the industry mature? We've already heard a little bit from Craig about this evolution, the transition from a physical model to a more digital. What has been your experience from the point of view as a broadcaster?
Music business is changing, but music is not dying. I think music will be there for a long time, especially in this part of the world. The music business by itself is suffering. 7 years ago, from personal initiative from my side, I tried to gather all the producers, the local production companies, the international production companies, the Arabic production companies, and we had a lot of meetings. We started, everybody was enthusiastic, they wanted to do something. And we started working on the ground actually, and we contacted even economic department of Dubai Police, economic crimes department of Dubai Police. And they were very helpful, they worked with us. We closed down 2 websites that had piracies, but 2 websites that were based or owned by people in Dubai. And we closed down 2 stores in Dubai that, they used to do a lot of piracy. But then we found out that, all the other companies, they were not so enthusiastic about this idea. Slowly it died down. We tried, let's move on, let's do something else. Let's, there are companies that, based in Dubai but can help us in Saudi Arabia, can help us in Kuwait, because music, when it goes into internet, then it doesn't have boundaries. You cannot just close, a website based in Dubai, but you cannot close a website based in Kuwait or Qatar or somewhere else. So slowly this effort died down. I think the intention was not there at that time. A lot of companies were doing good money from CD sales, so they were not paying attention to what was happening on the internet. Now I think this reawakening again and create this society, I think, will be very helpful. A lot of music producers here are suffering. Most of them, they disappeared, they closed down. The local music production actually kind of stopped, except for single songs that are released every once in a while, and usually supported by, VIPs or shares, which is good. At least some music is coming out. But actual producers in UAE, most of them disappeared, they closed down, and if this society starts, I think it will help at least to attract back some of the producers.
And how far is your own business being affected?
That's why I asked Rotana if they pay copyrights. The problem is, I think we have to change our practices also. I own TV channels. Nobody asked us for any copyrights. Nobody asked us. I think once we approached international companies, they said, no, if you want our music, you have to pay for it. But for the Arabic music, nobody asks for any payment, nobody approaches us. Our practice is also even wrong. That's why I asked Rotana if they pay. I don't know if they pay for broadcasting video clips, for Arabic video clips, not for Sasan, but because a lot of Arabic, especially in the Gulf, when we say Sasan, none of the Gulf singers or music writers are part of Sasan. Maybe Lebanese singers and Egyptian singers. So the copyrights for the Gulf singers and UAE singers is gone. Nobody's paying for it. Even the local singers, the Gulf singers, they don't know about this. They don't know about Sasan. We should, before educating the public, we should, I think, fix our practices. Sit down together, discuss where we can fix things before we educate the public.
What we are trying to do is a local collection management society, not a branch or a foreign society, because we need to create this for the Arab publishers, the Arab composers and authors. We need to protect our culture, so we will start with the Arab culture, something local. not a branch of a foreign society.
So-
And this is what I keep saying, that it will be the first collection management society in the Middle East, in my opinion.
So will this be relevant to the UAE alone, or to the GCC, or to the...
No, it will be UAE laws, because these organizations, when it exists, it should be within the boundaries of the countries where it is licensed. So once we have a successful model, hopefully in the UAE, we can go and to other GCC countries and then to the Middle East.
Good. Sahel, just back to you briefly. Perhaps move away from this issue of rights. From your experience in the industry, tell us then, what do you see as some of the opportunities?
There are lots of opportunities. I think Greg talked a lot about digital, which I think is the future. I think the physical music will disappear, especially in markets like UAE, the developed markets, I mean, like UAE. It's the digital, and the more we protect the copyrights and the more we deliver the rights to all the players in the industry, I think we'll have more music to be distributed digitally. That will generate more income. That it's a circle by itself. The circle will start moving. We need to be educated from our side. We don't know even me as a music owner. I don't know my rights. I don't know where shall I make money from where. I don't know. Most of it we don't know. I mean, about local producers. The big international companies, they're well established in this. They know how to work in this atmosphere, and they're huge companies. They have a lot of legal ways to know how to make money. Locally, a lot of these companies need to be educated for the future to make more money. The cycle of music starts again, the production.
Okay. Shall we just take a moment now? Are there any questions from the audience?
Good morning, my name is Neil Adams. I'm from a company called Driving Force. We're involved in sports events. There's obviously some relevance here. My real question here, it seems like everyone's ready to pounce in terms of having a society in place, and obviously rights holders all sitting here very unhappy with the situation as it is. The big question for me is, when are you going to set the precedent for MESA in terms of legal and get the ball rolling, because I think that's all that's required.
Now we will do it. We will do it. Thank you for encouraging us.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much for this amazing panel discussion. One of the things that it didn't happen is I didn't see till now a right campaign. Like it's something that you showed on the iPad. Actually, I didn't see completely, but I saw the far picture. That was nice, but maybe you can work more on the more powerful campaign to show that how much effort you put on the music producing, all this marketing, printing, and all of this stuff. That's why you guys, for example, audience, whatever people, you need to buy and pay for the music. And I want to just give an example. In Iran, nobody cares about copyright, especially in the TV series or music, in the video production. And something that happened last year that was shocked all the people, that a TV director and comedy actor, Mehran Modiri, which is so famous in Iran, he made a deal with the Iranian broadcast. They made 120 episodes of the TV series. And suddenly they cut the deal. I mean, they canceled the deal. So they put the budget, they made all these episodes, and that's it. So they decided to publish the DVD into the market. To the market that nobody cares about the copyright. Everybody just copy from each other. If one person buy a DVD or music, all the family just got the music from him or her and copy it. So that at the first season episode, Mehran by himself came in front of camera before the TV starts.
when you put the DVD, the first thing you see is Mehran Modiri. He asked everybody in Iran that we pay a lot of money for this series, and we didn't make a deal with Iranian broadcaster. And we need your support and all this stuff. Something that happened the first day of launching this series, all the copies were sold out. And each 3 episodes they sold like weekly, and all of this episode was sold out. Nobody copied the DVD, and nobody pirated the DVD. Even the websites in Iran or other European countries that they share the music and the movies from Western or Iranian, they didn't share that specific TV series. So it was, I think it's a lesson that that was actually for the TV production, but it can be adapted for the music production as well.
Yeah, because you raised many points. This is why I'm just trying to, yeah. The first point you raised that music is provided in many ways, so we need to find, so you are right, that music was firstly it was provided through cassette, tape, then CD, then now on mobiles, but what it didn't change, it was provided always through public places. And this is what I'm focusing. I'm highlighting the public places, and this is a place where music, where the user needs music, and music it should be always there. So whatever the future, the technology change, but this is a place where we need to protect music, because music should be there always. Now for the campaign, this is one of our ideas, but we will have new ideas. If you have new ideas, we can also make it. So we are trying to learn how to make awareness campaign, and this is our first campaign that should be launched soon.
So how you wanted to say?
Yeah, I have a question for the panel. Now, a lot of softwares, like programs, I mean, like Facebook, Twitter, BlackBerry Messenger, a lot of music is distributed through these means. How can music producers control this thing? Because how do you know where you get your rights from these?
Can I take the liberty to answer that?
Do, yes, go ahead.
I think what's interesting is that the industry as a whole, whether it's through social or any other mediums, is moving into a global marketplace. So I think that companies like Facebook, etc., are thinking about these, more severely when they are currently operational in the US market and in Europe. So I think you touched upon this before. I think one of the advantages that the four majors have is we have systems in place that actually address licensing laws with these global companies. So, it's not only happening with affiliate companies when it comes to social media like Facebook, it's also happening with a lot of retailers as well as companies that operate within the streaming business realm, where all of these companies actually have, some sort of a global agreement with us that essentially secures our rights, whether it's companies like iTunes, whether it's companies like Spotify, etc., that at some level are all looking to enter this market, in the next 6 months, and it's as soon as that. So these companies actually have global agreements with the four majors, and when they essentially enter the market, they adapt that agreement to what the expectation is locally. So that's how it really works. We're fortunate in that sense. I think you raised a very important issue that, for the local companies like yourself that, for the UAE, that participate in the collegiate music industry, I think it would be great to have, you know, a forum within ourselves to basically, you know, make sure that, you know, you are also asking for the same bandwidth of rights that we are able to, you know, drill into place in other markets where, you know, so for example, one of the things that I've often heard with Rotana Jihad on the digital licensing is that, you know, we are much harder with our licensing requirements than, you know, what Rotana is in your content. So I think it would be great to have some sort of infrastructure in place where the localized companies can work with the international majors. And I think another point that you touched upon is also right, that, you know, you did it 7 years ago, but I think the time is now, because I think two of the biggest majors in the world, which is Universal Music and Sony Music, have only had an office in this region in the last 3 years. So in that sense, I believe this is the time, this is the place. So
This is where the society will be helpful.
exactly.
There was another question just up here.
Check. All right. Good morning. This is actually very, very useful on a lot of different levels. So I actually have 3 questions. The first question is as an artist, as an independent musician who is based locally and is also independently financed, and I think there are others in the room like that. How can we as artists, one, support this initiative, because obviously it's going to kind of like, you know, come back to us, but also, I mean, I generally feel that this whole concept of being part of a music collection society abroad, I've tried to do that, but either because I'm not a US resident, I'm unable to be part of the North American one, or I'm not European, so I can't be part of Shazam, I think. So what can we do as independent artists here? And do you suggest that we publish our music ourselves or go through publishing companies? That's one question.
Should we answer that one
Yes, please.
first? Nathan, would you like to comment?
Yeah, you mentioned that you are an artist. Do you compose music yourself? Because there is a difference between a
Yes,
musician
yes,
as a performer and a original rights holder as a composer.
Original rights holder, yeah.
Yes, then yeah, you can participate on being in the founders committee on the table. You are welcome, any individual, because it's not restricted to anyone. I'm saying whoever has a right, who is a music right holder, can join the founders committee. What's the other question? Sorry?
With regards to publishing music independently, locally,
Yes.
just advice from the panel whether, you know, is it better to go through an established company or is it better to publish your music independently?
It depends on what publishers offer. This is where we have.
Of course, it's better that a publisher, a big publisher, represents you. This is the international standard. Like the major publisher represent a million of artists. So the best way is to go through a publisher. Usually, it is the publisher who represent the authors.
Okay, thank you very much on that. The second question is an answer to some of the changes in what's happening to the landscape of the music consumption. Is there any reason why there isn't an iTunes store, and only the iTunes store in the UAE, for example, only allows you to buy applications and not music? And is that because the licensing model hasn't been worked out with the majors?
No, I mean, it's not. It's basically Apple's business strategy. I mean, I'm not really in a place to comment on why they're not here, but I believe the App Store, it has been opened very soon. They have some sort of a minor setup in Abu Dhabi, and I believe that is the precursor for what is to come in terms of actually bringing some of their other services here. I mean, our region, like many other countries in the world, have the same issue. You know, Apple and iTunes is essentially a Western concept, and it really hasn't penetrated any countries in Asia, and it's actually looking to develop a business model to actually enter those markets. It might look quite simple from the outside, but you know, fundamentally, Apple is not a music retailer. It's not their primary business. It's essentially, you know, a company that develops devices. So obviously, if you think about it, the music retail aspect, which is quite profitable, is still really, really small when it comes to the cash they make from, you know, selling all the other devices. So I think that's the reason why, and that's my guess on it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your participation, everyone that's taken part.